He tried to stand up even though the injury was very serious and would endanger his life. That bastard who dared to stab someone in the back is truly cowardly. That's shy. How can you secretly stab someone? Isn't winning the top priority in this place? Elder Ching's face darkened when he heard Master Gowa's brazen words. As a sect leader, how could he have such thoughts? The reputation of the MA sect is damaged because of you. What this person really wants is the revival of the MA sect, and to do that she must overthrow the Ton sect. Elder Ching is the biggest pillar who can maintain the sect's purity. As long as she breaks this pillar, she will have a chance, so she has no reason to hesitate. Honor, it doesn't matter how much harm you get at this time, because in the end she will become the winner and rule this Sichuan city. Master Gowa calmly replied to the Ton elder. It seems like she was cursed a lot. I'm used to it. As for the other things, let's leave it to the other world and talk about it later. Ching really didn't expect that this person from a righteous sect could be so cruel. He laughed in pain, and the situation is getting worse. Where will you go from now on, old crow? Ching said. Your weak sect will eventually wither away. Whatever happens happens, so Master Gowa no longer cares much if the whole city. How can this Dong curse me? Before you worry about us, you should take care of yourself first. A loud noise was heard, and Gowa used his monster staff. I fell on Elder Ching's chest. You should have taken care of Ton because in the future she will live forever. After the weapon was pulled out of her body Ching was floating in the air again. Below, the sect leader Na-Mi repeatedly used internal attacks to hit him heavily. Ton lacked a dozen sturdy pillars like the elder and would soon collapse. Tragically, this person is truly sinister, as she waited for both sides to fight until their strength was exhausted before taking action. Loud explosions rang out in the remnants of the old gate. There was no longer the strange laughter or thunderous voice of Elder Ton. His huge body collapsed to the ground, and it seemed like his life was gone. Ton lost his life. The swordsman was busy fiddling with the traps and only now realized that his master had been secretly stabbed. They were about to run over, but Na-Mi's men, following the orders of the sect leader, held tightly and did not let go. Gowa master. With a cold and colorful attitude, she walked towards Pyo Wol's place. She tried to stay calm because the person opposite had caused so many difficulties in reviving the Na-Mi sect that she had worked so hard for many years to create. I'm starting to feel a little grateful to you. Thanks to you disrupting the Ton sect, I was able to have this opportunity. Pyo Wol is just one thing to Master Gowa. Bad luck is also a chance. Although the male lead assassinated Wu Gunsang, so the war with Ton broke out, but that's also why Na-Mi's position was strengthened. And today Elder Ching's attention was distracted, so she was able to eliminate him. I will let you enjoy the pain until death will never forget. The monster staff in the hands of Master Gowa screamed that this only happens when she puts all her power into it. If it weren't for that disgusting ambition, maybe he would be wandering the world right now without having to worry about anything. The male lead had a normal life, or maybe now he died miserably in a foreign land. Because gangsters are always cruel to the point of being scary towards someone who begs for help. What do you have in your hand? Pyo Wol silently thought to himself that if only he could continue to live a life of crickets. Master Gowa's ambition created him today, an assassin. Named Pyo Wol. A monster who, despite being surrounded by so many martial artists, never blinked. Now it's time to let her know that the monster she created is how cruel and brutal he is. The male lead casts black lightning and then rushes towards Master Gowa. Sect leader Na-Mi observed very carefully when Pyo Wol fought with Elder Ching. So she is quite confident that she can deal with black lightning. I am the terrible monster that you created. Let's see how much I have developed. Both of them continuously used magic tricks with unpredictable changes. Up to now, as mentioned, all of Pyo Wol's opponents do not know what killer move he uses, and they only know if they are dead. The soul wick keeps tightening and then shrinking again, but with sharp eyes, Master Gowa easily recognized it. She performed one of the moves of the Golden Light style, the Golden Light Wind Attack. The Golden Light Wind Attack was an enveloping technique. Gas around the base of the staff and was able to attack 10 attacks in one breath. It was also quite commendable for Pyo Wol because he was dueling with one of the top masters of Sichuan without being harmed in the slightest. Dominate. This also shows that Elder Ching's words were not wrong when he said that if he was raised properly, the male protagonist could become a master of the righteous sect. Pyo Wol's monster staff and fists collided with each other, creating ear-splitting explosions. From afar, I observed Sol Ran's delicate face mixed with a bit of worry. Every time she did this, it was as if something bad was about to happen. From within the smoke, the most cruel human group Na Min smiled mockingly. That's all you have? Why is your size not enough to fight me? Holding the monster staff firmly in Gowa's hand, the monk continued to attack. Internal force inside. Once again she used golden light to attack at long range. Because she couldn't attack directly with her staff, she didn't have to worry about her strange techniques. Pyo Wol can break it. However, the male protagonist still stands firm against the heavy damage of that force and his face is a bit distorted. Many layers of shields are spread out by the Soul Collector and helping him prevent the next attacks. In the blazing flames, a white face appeared again. This showed that Pyo Wol was unharmed, on the contrary, he remained calm. As if I had a plan to fight back. Master Gowa was still busy swinging around without even realizing that she was being put in a pincer position. In just a moment she realized there was something quite unusual. She thought she had dodged Pyo Wol's cover attack, but the ghost hammer was not just one blade. At that moment, many short blades tore through the air, flying out with sharp sound in the dark. Everything came from 4 blades, so Master Gowa didn't have time to pay attention to Pyo Wol. In the end, this person had to take back his golden light to deal with some things. That dangerous hidden weapon first. The monster staff stomped hard on the tile floor and a violent vibration was created again. With this attack, Gowa, the monk, wanted to show off his power a little and easily destroy it. Get rid of the troublesome invisible strings that are covering yourself. This is quite useful because countless short swords are knocked away. The old face looks very interested. Look at the male lead, is that all you have? Pyo Wol didn't care when he received those sarcastic words. He glared at his opponent and reminded him to look closely. Let's see. Pyo Wol set a trap from the Soul Collector and then used a ghost hammer to lure her. Master Gowa suddenly felt death pass through his body in an instant. The pupils began to dilate and move around as if they were looking for something. Many sharp wires were wrapped around this person's ankles. If we only discovered it now, it would be fine. It was already too late. Pyo Wol pulled the soul tea, causing Master Gowa's body to shake violently. In an unpredictable situation, she panicked and adjusted her body. With just enough time to exhale, it revealed a weakness, but that was enough for Pyo Wol. The dead eyes of the past now only leave one looked so confused. At a speed of sound that the human eye could not perceive, the male lead clenched his fists. He continued to cast black lightning and then moved forward, his speed doubled at the end. Speed of mind. Both of these things blend together to help increase the speed of thinking and will increase physical strength. The terrible speed makes Pyo Wol's weight become even greater. The male lead right now is nothing more than a weapon with heavy destructive power. Master Gowa opened his eyes wide and instinctively could still feel Pyo Wol. But his fist was stabbed straight into her stomach before this person could react. The sound of impact was as loud as a bomb exploding. Gowa was knocked back. A look of surprise appeared on her face because she only with one punch from Pyo Wol. Her insides were shocked and her cardiovascular system was shaken violently. Gowa was lying huddled on the ground, covered in blood. After that killer move, Namhi was still indifferent, as if he wanted this cruel person to be allowed to leave a legacy. Partly this was also the retribution that Master Gowa had to receive after many years of torturing others. Sol Ran could no longer keep calm. Even though she didn't like her master, in this situation she seemed very worried. Master Gowa dragged himself on the ground, vomiting blood. This is not a light attack on this person. What the hell is happening to me? What did he do? Why can't he see the attack line clearly? This is just the first move. Okay? If that's the case, isn't that Ching the luckier one than me? Why is there this kind of monster in the world? If this keeps up, I'll soon have the same fate as that noble guy. For the first time, fear appeared on Master Gowa's face. Soul ran, please hurry. Join forces with the master of the Black Cloud Army. She ordered her disciples to join forces with Jianghu to deal with Pyo Wol. Even though it's a bit cowardly, this is not the time to care about such things. Both still stood silently in one place as if they didn't want to do it. Facing the monk Gowa is a monster that cannot be defeated. Even the leader of the Black Cloud group himself wants it very much because there is still Taoist Go's revenge that has not been paid. The most important thing right now is the life of the Taoist Go. Head sect Na Mai. Pyo Wol feels really miserable, right? Do you want to trade 2 of their lives to save your own? Looks like I won't let this opportunity slip through my hands. Zhang Meryong was standing nearby and first appeared. He used the merchant's mortar technique and then rushed into attack. Just if you can keep your life, even if your honor is damaged, Gowa monks can still restore it. I lured this person from Mount Na Mai to here. If I let it slip away, who knows when my opportunity will come. Arrived again. The figure of the leader of the Black Cloud immediately appeared right behind Pyo Wol. It seemed that the leader did not understand anything because the opponent deliberately ignored it and still could not help. At that moment, Pyo Wol Vung Yulin was attached to the Soul Retractor. The Soul Reaper was now like a poisonous snake wrapped tightly around Zhang Meryang's spear. He ignored it and didn't care. When it comes to danger, I just want to stab the male lead with a skewer. That bastard of a pervert is really too shallow. If you want to escape from the soul-sucking, you have to let go of the spear, but the self-esteem of the martial artist did not allow him to let go of his weapon. While hesitating, the wraith attached and collected the soul flew at a terrifying speed. With a few thuds, Zhang Meryang's body was hit by countless. The short knife pierced from the back to the front. Blood splattered everywhere. Hack's group leader still appeared to be in pain but had no time to do anything. This person's whole body collapsed to the ground, followed by Pyo Wol's figure flashed past. He didn't pay any attention and ran all the way back to the Gowa monk, but only then did his real disciple take action. Soul Ren swung his sword to stop Pyo Wol and tried. I don't want to hurt him. The sword move like that is a mental blow. Soul Ren understands that the opponent does not care about his own life, only hatred is left in it. She continuously swung her sword and shouted loudly to stop, don't come here. How could those weightless words have any effect right now? Even though she had a few injuries, the male lead still coldly increased his speed. Taking advantage of Soul Ren's mistake, Pyo Wol used a walking beam to pass her. The male lead overcame 2 obstacles in a very short time. I still don't understand why he didn't hurt this beautiful woman. Is it because of her arrogant beauty? Did he not even bother to counterattack and just passed by me? These fleeting thoughts in his head made Soul Ren more scared than ever. Right now Pyo Wol was standing in front of Gowa's master. The other person was cowering like a frog when encountering a snake standing in front of her. The moment she saw Pyo Wol's red eyes, her fear increased to the extreme. Even though I tried to scream but I couldn't speak anymore. Gowa's words turned upside down and whatever was coming had already happened. Soul Ren in the distance screamed in vain even though she knew no matter what I do, I can't do it anymore. Pyo Wol's strange animation wrapped around the sect master Na Mi like a giant snake suffocating a grave. In just a blink of an eye, her gaze was completely changed. It's like going to another dimension. This place is dark and unclear, you could say it's in a snake cave. In the hands of Gowa, the monk has the sounds of snakes and countless snakes were clinging to her hands. Addicted to the poison, her body did not move, her heart pounding was clearly heard. The wheezing sounds kept echoing continuously. Keep going. Perhaps that is still not enough compared to the losses that Pyo Wol has suffered. As said, the source of the problem started from Gowa monk. So the person who did this and ended it will be her. Dozens of eyes turned to where Pyo Wol stood, or to be more precise, the person who killed the sect leader Na Mi sent one of the strongest experts in Sichuan city. The heroes also trembled in fear when they saw Master Gowa fall. The body of this dead man was left in a pool of blood. The blood was pouring out. The disciples of the Na Mi sect called Gowa monk painfully and they were now extremely scared and confused. They all couldn't believe who they were. They think that God is dead now. This is not like reality at all. The people of Tonton and Black Cloud don't all think that Pyo Wol is a real enemy of death. At this time he just stood there. It was quiet and did not release any hidden weapons, but the heroes did not dare to attack. For the weak, just seeing Pyo Wol was enough to make them feel crazy with extreme fear. Although this story is a bit hard to believe, Nami's disciples themselves have no way to take revenge now. Everything is only covered by fear and endless night. Pyo Wol emitted an aura and looked straight at a number of Nami disciples standing nearby. With that level of danger, some people's legs were unsteady, their hearts were beating continuously. The fear was raised to the peak when that person can no longer scream, tears and snot run out unconsciously. This is also proof that no one will dare to take revenge anymore. From further away Soul Ran did not come at such a level, she still did not dare to look directly at Pyo Wol. She felt that from the beginning, making this matter of gratitude and resentment was too wrong. Hundreds of thousands of martial artists were overwhelmed by the existence of one person. Even the person they fear is the assassin they once despised. If they all rushed in at the same time, that Pyo Wol definitely wouldn't be able to do anything like that. No one dared to step out. Soul Ran had a feeling that a new character had appeared who would rule this city of Sichuan. A grim reaper would rule Sichuan with blood and extreme fear. Suddenly there were extremely confusing thoughts in her mind. Her master had died and she didn't know where to go. While thinking about this, Pyo Wol felt hot-tempered, so he looked straight at Soul Ran. Just with that gesture, it was unclear whether this person was scared or sobbing. Both of them had countless things they wanted to say but didn't know how to find the right reason. Chief. Then, according to his heart, Soul Ran tried to open his mouth and call Pyo Wol's name. Someone appeared from behind Soul Ran where no one was paying attention at this time. That Taoist staring at Pyo Wol with eyes full of madness. Roaring screams came from the position of the Elder Ching, his voice echoed throughout the battlefield. Ching, the elder of all, when there would never be such an extreme outburst. Even though he was arrogant and looked down on everything around him, he was still an elder of the famous righteous sect. Before the situation even that cannot escape Pyo Wol's emotionless eyes. Perhaps next another battle will break out again. After that scream, many martial artists staggered and fell to the ground. His eyes flared up and his whole body radiated a strange aura. Just looking at it made goosebumps go down all over his body, and he was so scared that he squirted his pants. It was also from this incident that it was certain that the evil martial arts had permeated the pure elder's heart. The chest that was injured by Master Gowa is still sunken in. No matter how advanced the martial arts level is, it is impossible to move in this state. Even Tonton Seven Swordsman was extremely surprised by this. The master's unusual appearance. The crowd felt an incredibly dark aura emanating from a mature elder known as a famous sect. A calm and collected person, who is more rational than anyone, suddenly becomes extremely impatient, and at the slightest feeling of dissatisfaction, he cannot control the rage in his heart. This change came after Elder Ching read the book. The book was accidentally picked up in the cave 7 years ago. That 9-demon Lu is one of the sect of the demonic sect that spread terror to the wanderers in the past. The book he had contains Ju Ma Lu's favorite thoughts. At first I read it out of curiosity, but I didn't expect it to be planted in the demon's heart. As time passed, the seed blossomed and grew until the Elder Ching realized it and wanted to get rid of it. If he abandoned it, everything would be too late. In just a blink of an eye, he rushed all the way in front of Pyo Wol. Ching's sword split in half towards him with a force like a storm. Pyo Wol immediately tried to turn the crossbar and walk backwards. When the situation reached this point, the person who was most shocked was Tonton Seven Sword. They continuously requested to stop their actions, but Elder Ching did not turn his head and walked straight towards Pyo Wol. Even though he was deeply immersed in rage, the elder's movements not only had no loopholes but were also faster and more precise than usual. In general, there are good sides, but the bad sides are countless. Looking at that miserable face, the male lead also understands that he doesn't look alert at all. The demonic energy has infiltrated his mind. The opponent still couldn't keep up with him because the walking snake originally imitated the movements of snakes, so it was extremely difficult to grasp. Pyo Wol opened his arms and immediately the ghostly spirit on his soul receiver aimed straight at Ching. Rushing forward. Still a common tactic, and it's unclear if it has any effect now. After spreading the net, the male lead clenched his fist to suffocate the opponent. Because he had been bound, Elder Ching suddenly screamed as if in pain. However, just a moment later, he no longer made that expression. Perhaps because he had experienced the ghost and the ghost once. Ching's sword and Pyo Wol's ghost collided violently with each other. Elder Ching's face immediately showed extreme pain even though he was controlled by rage. But still felt the pain piercing through the bones. The sharp sound continued to ring for a while, then Pyo Wol's movements also stopped. The male protagonist stood from afar staring at the other person's face. 2 eyes. His body suddenly staggered and everything faded away. The vitality disappeared, the rage that controlled him was no longer there. Elder Ching stared at Pyo Wol as if he did not believe this was true. The throwing knife that Pyo Wol released stopped the demonic energy from reviving from the 9 demonic flow. Finally, this person had exhausted all his internal strength and was no longer dangerous. That huge body also collapsed to the ground and lost all vitality. At this moment, senior brother Ching, along with an angry voice, someone rushed in. One hand quickly reached out to stop him, thinking that Pyo Wol would kill him. Elder. Fortunately, the real Wu Hua came forward, otherwise his senior brother's life would have been difficult to preserve. With a calm facial expression and a stable mind, the real Muryang gave the job to Wu Hua. That's not wrong. Just as this Taoist was about to say something, there was a groan from the elder Ching from behind. I thought he was dead but still escaped. Wu Hua quickly knelt down. Looked down at his brother's poor condition. There were so many words he wanted to say about the reasons and blames, but Wu Hua still couldn't express his heart. At this time, Ching was in a dangerous state. The drama and everything can be summed up in just a few words. Why do you practice this type of magic and not until now do all your doubts get answered? Elder Ching struggled to hold Wu Hua's hand and said, "This moment is truly precious. They have been in life and death for decades, yet they broke up in such a scene. Suffering." With the last bit of strength, Elder Ching looked straight at his junior brother. "Everything I do is for the sake of success, and in the end, it is only for the benefit and common future of everyone." This is the last sentence that Elder Ching left behind in this world. Wu Hua can't finish his sentence because he is no longer there. It's time to lose the master's life. Wen still doesn't regret his decision. But because of his stupid decision, Tonon has to face even bigger problems. Wu Hua is so sad, he really can no longer blame the culprit who killed his senior brother. Are you doing this because of the lost honor of our sect? The eyes of the heroes looking at Tonon martial artists were no longer the same as before. They all witnessed with their own eyes the true Ching falling into the demon realm, and no one could stop dozens and hundreds of mouths like that. The Tonon sect's reputation seems to have fallen to the bottom of hell, and so does the Na-Mi sect. The scene of the sneak attack by Master Gowa caught their eyes. The head of the Na-Mi sect was famous and shocked the world, but he used despicable tricks that only evil sects would do. Even if she is criticized, it cannot be justified. I don't know if she will become a winner or not, but in the end she will lose her life at the hands of Pyo Wol. Pyo Wol is not a pitiful prey. Fell into the trap. On the contrary, it was the heroes present here who were caught in the heavenly net he created. Pyo Wol is a superpower who dominates this entire battlefield. At least most of the heroes present here felt like that. Everything became calm at the ruins of the street gate. In the past, this same place also had a tragic scene without any warning. Who wants? In the end, it was only for the personal benefit of some people that the incident was repeated. It was like a dark mark. The real Wu Hua sneezed at him. I don't know how to handle the current situation. The Qingcheng sect still has masters of the law enforcement hall and Qingcheng 7 swords. If they all join forces, maybe they can finish it off. Pyo Wol, but they will definitely have to pay a very high price. While real Wu Hua was still teetering between revenge and saving his life, suddenly Soul Ren stepped forward towards Na-Mi. She did not. He had no bad intentions but just coldly looked at the man with an extraordinary demeanor before his eyes. Master Pyo, if you allow me, I would like to take the body of the sect leader to Na-Mi mountain. At that time, martial artist's impersonator Na-Mi immediately objected. Why would she ask for permission from the person who killed the sect leader? We have to avenge the sect leader, but Soul Ren just coldly looked at them. What if the two of you are like that? The sect leader and the real Ching Cheng couldn't even take his life, how could you guys? These thoughts of hers were the harsh reality of the Ma sect. In the current situation, it's a matter of revenge. Enemies are no longer important, survival is the top priority. The sect leader of a righteous sect has cowardly attacked the master of the Tonon sect. Since then, the Ma sect's reputation has been severely damaged. This is the first time a martial artist has been able to do this in the history of Sichuan City, even when the hall was still glorious. Don't make the heroes scared to this extent. True Manhwa sighed. We also want to clean up senior brother's body and retreat, hoping the hero will allow it. All eyes are on Pyo Wol, because how the situation changes depends on the male lead's answer. Perhaps the most goodwill is shown by both Na-Mi and Tonon. Right at this moment, the crowd of disciples became worried. The leaders of both sects bowed their heads, so if the battle completely overwhelmed both sides, it would be very difficult to restore their vitality. They all had the same question in their hearts as to whether the assassin would agree or not. Pyo Wol stared at real Wu Hua and Soul Ran without saying a word. Are his eyes lifeless? Containing a little bit of emotion, like a short sword stabbed deep into the hearts of two people. If after I let you go, you dare to light the fire of revenge, don't blame me. I dare to use my name to ensure that Na-Mi sect will absolutely never take revenge on the Pyo adventurer. We Tonon don't want any more bloodshed, so we hope all the resentment will end from here. These are just some platitudes, how can Pyo Wol believe it? I will. Soul Ran made a strange sound in his words. Wu Hua's face also seemed very sincere, showing that no sincere disciple would do anything rude. These are the words that the male protagonist needs to ponder thoughtfully. His faith has been lost since 14 years ago and no one can make his soul at peace. Pyo Wol looks at Bin in Soul Ran for a long time. 7 years ago, when he met her in the dormant basement, he felt that this person was very different from other disciples of the Na-Mi sect, although it was not clear where the difference was. The determination of the female sect Na-Mi is really noble and there is not a single lie in it. The dead villain who is the reason for all this is the monk Gowa. Maybe in a far-away place somehow she is having to repent for what she has done. The male lead has already killed the culprit who caused everything, so there is no need to pay attention to Na-Mi Fi anymore. After the incident, when this tragic event ended, Sichuan fell into a period of stagnation. Wu Hua, along with the Tonon Fi disciples, bowed their heads in humiliation, but no one dared to act rashly because of their momentum. Was overwhelmed by Pyo Wol. Both Na-Mi and Tonon stopped fighting for power. Other sects also enforced a closing order to focus on repairing past damage. After the battle during the war, many people suffered unwanted suffering as a result of the murder of an unknown assassin. There is one thing that all the heroes clearly understand, is that no one dares to think of taking revenge on Pyo Wol. Sichuan martial arts is now entering a period of upheaval and stagnation. And so on. Time passed in the silence of all the people here. The capital that was destroyed by conflicts between martial artists has now somewhat stabilized. People are gradually returning to a normal life. Usually, no one dares to mention that creepy name Pyo Wol, and he leisurely enjoys his way of life. Will that kid from 14 years ago be able to live a free life again? Even though everyone has returned to their original position like nothing ever happened. But the memories of that day are still imprinted in everyone's head. It's just them, it just can't be shown on the outside. However, time passes and Sichuan also begins to change. Hong Yu-shin sat in the room reading the reports sent from the stations in recent times. What could that be? Sichuan was actually shaken by an assassin? If the master Osan-jong was still alive, he would definitely send his subordinates to collect information and organize the information in the most systematic way. However, the disciples of Ha-Oman in this capital have already, there is no longer a leader, they can only record what they witness. Looks like this time we have to go directly to the capital. Hong Yu-shin sighed. The chaos a few months ago has happened, causing many upheavals in the capital. There are many martial artists who want to come to this place to find out information about why that unknown assassin caused such a terrible stir. No one knows and no one can predict how chaotic Sichuan's future will be. Many houses and shops have had to change owners, so even ordinary migrants cannot escape the blow of looting and riots. Many people had to sell their houses and leave the capital because they were so desperate when the shops collapsed. Looking back, there are indeed many shops that have changed new owners now. On the street south of the capital, there are many shops like that. Today, on the occasion of the store's repair ending, all items are reduced in value by 50%, everyone. Life is bustling. The development started again as if turning a new page in a book. Hong Yu-shin is the team leader who oversees the team from the headquarters. It's been a long time since he personally went out to collect information like this, but he's still very confident. News. To become the team leader and supervisor of Sha Woman's team, one must be a person with relatively good strength. In fact, Hong Yu-shin is a person who possesses superior strength compared to other people to take on the role. Position of this team leader. Thien Ha Trading Company is also a trading company entering the capital from outside. As soon as the door opened, Hong Yu-shin was warmly welcomed by the servants here. With a pretty well-disguised appearance, this company is temporarily considered a centipede of the Sha woman in Sichuan City. After receiving the question of wanting to meet the union leader, the female servant also made a face. Unexpectedly, she begged and honestly said that if she didn't have an appointment, she would never meet her. With her heart-touching beauty, Hong Yu-shin freely teased women like that. How could anyone resist that charm? After seeing the jade card, the other person's attitude suddenly changed. She quickly bowed respectfully to the team. Team supervisor's boss. Eyes curved like the moonlight on a full moon night appear on his face, looking very impressive. Don't cause a panic. Go call someone and bring everyone to take notes of important events of the capital that happened recently for me. It's not strange for Sha woman to investigate those things because this group's work is inherently like that. However, the death of the Master O San Zhang here left a huge question mark. It was not difficult for Hong Yu-shin to determine that the incident was related to the famous assassin here. Not only that, the owner also showed up, which is a big deal. The scene was moved outside to the crowded and bustling streets of the capital. Before the incident of Pyo Wol stirring up a series of experts here, countless martial artists were also present. Right at a not-so-prominent jewelry store, a fight broke out. It seemed like there was a difficult customer who didn't know what to choose. What else? Do you guys dare to sell me things like this? A drawling voice rang out. A man with an extremely crude appearance and followed by dozens of very strange-looking weapons. His face looked quite grim when he saw people handcuffing him. Your back is deformed, so you look down on it, right? The salesman is extremely guilty because he doesn't know how to explain anymore. Sir O Kyung Wol gritted his teeth and wondered why you dared to sell. This trivial thing costs 3 taels of silver. Because the price of raw materials and the cost paid to the craftsman is already very high, this item is priced like that. As soon as he received that answer, the other martial artist only wanted to buy a tael of silver, but the boss fell down again. We really just started trading again, please understand this situation. It's really too much to bully people, but where does this habit of oppressing others come from? After receiving the unwanted price, he started to frown and just wanted to beat the shop owner. The situation was only resolved when another martial artist came to stop it before things got worse. Worse. Sir O Kyung Wol of the world, why are you so angry? The atmosphere is too serious, so stop bullying that poor boss. If it's too difficult for you, then I'll pay for it for you. There is no free meal in this world and obviously this cannot happen. You are an invisible monk, Yu Shin Peng, why are you in this place? Seeing that the other person knew about his reputation, the old man also smiled happily. Actually, it was me and my niece. I'm wandering around the world and just passing by here. Say hello to that person who is famous in the southern part of the world including Henan province. Sir O Kyung Wol of the 7-star sect. Listen, Superior Li Soha quickly bowed down to pay respects even though she didn't really like this person's attitude. After finishing the greeting, the monk in the background also talked about buying and selling jewelry. If you want this item, then just let me buy it for you. Oh Kyung Won looked at the shop owner and looked very angry. Please leave, you think I'm a bitch? Probably the type of beggar. Having finished speaking, he left under the disdainful eyes of passers-by. If this guy had come here, it would have been necessary for the other martial artists of the Seven Stars sect to gather. It's only a matter of time. In a place where the Seven Star sect is, there will definitely be a storm, so everything has become too strange. Pyo Wol has stayed at the river a long time later. When the sun rose into the sky, he took a boat to the river and did nothing. The fishermen nearby thought Pyo Wol was also very strange. In their eyes they acted looks so useless and a waste of time. But Pyo Wol himself doesn't think so because the male lead is going through the most peaceful time in his life. Just lie back on the bed. A boat floating on the river or quietly sitting and fishing is enough to make Pyo Wol very satisfied. Time still passes peacefully and like every day the gestures and actions are repeated. Every time. The fish still takes the bait in the heart of the male lead who feels so comfortable. If there had been no death or hatred, perhaps he would have been able to travel everywhere with peace of mind. Also it's unclear how long these peaceful days will last. Pyo Wol understands that because he cannot deny the past. He is as an assassin, no one dares to come close to the male lead. They all understand that person with a beautiful and arrogant appearance but inside is more venomous than a snake. The sun has reached the peak of ordinary actions. The day is repeated over and over again. There are no disruptive sounds or teasing. I feel that although it is leisurely, why is this life so tasteless? Up until now, no one has answered the question. Why and how? If only one of his old teammates were still alive, the male lead would probably come and pour out so many difficult feelings. Or just bask in the light. Soul Ran's eyes or body alone would be so happy. Getting rid of the shadow of the past is something that is relatively difficult. End of the boring fishing trip. Pyo Wol coldly disappearing into the forest. Perhaps the male protagonist himself is more suitable for that cold and endless black night. One day Pyo Wol suddenly realized he had to leave this place. There is no reason to hesitate, there is no reason to stay. After making up his mind, the male lead left Manjiang, and when he arrived he left empty-handed. Pyo Wol left Manjiang returning to the capital. He didn't come back for any special reason, it was just that his footsteps automatically turned towards the capital. The male protagonist went to an inn to temporarily eat some vegetables and noodles. Just a few months ago, there was an incident that shook both Chengdu and Sichuan, but it seemed like everyone had buried that incident and forgotten it. Someone approached the table he was sitting at. A man with crooked eyes like a half-moon. I'm sorry, is he the hero Pyo? This person is none other than Hong Yu-shin, the team leader of Ha Oman's team. In real life, I see that you are much more beautiful than rumored. Looking at that face I just want to kiss your cheeks. Surely you won't come to me to say these nonsense, but if so, then go away. I'm sorry, I had to work very hard to find Mr. Pyo. It's also because I'm happy so much so that I forgot to ask that you were Hong Yu-shin. Hearing this name, the male lead actually didn't know and had never seen anyone with the same beauty as him. That's right, this is the first time. First, I publicly reveal my identity to that Oman subordinate. When it comes to this gang, no one knows, so the male lead asked why this person was looking for him. Seriously, sir, is it because you don't know that you ask? Hong Yu-shin tilted his head and asked again as if he couldn't believe it. In the past 10 days he had to suffer so much to search for Pyo Wol. Then I don't need to elaborate anymore, did you kill the team? Mature capital Osan Zhong or not? While chewing, Pyo Wol did not deny that his attitude did not look scared at all. Hong Yu-shin felt like he wanted to stand up because he didn't expect Pyo Wol to admit it so easily. He stared at Pyo Wol with eyes full of coldness, but that alone couldn't shake Pyo Wol. Please tell me the reason why you did that. The male lead coldly said frankly because that bastard dared to collect my personal information and sell it out. Just for that reason, right? Don't you know that Ha Oman's job is to collect information? Do you think you can live comfortably outside of Ha Wman's sight? As long as I give the order, all the Ha Oman in this capital will find a way to kill them. Hearing this threat, Pyo Wol lowered his chopsticks and reminded the opponent to understand. It doesn't matter because the first person who will die is the next person who will also be the master of the Haomon sect, Pyo Wol said without even blinking an eye. Hong Yu-shin immediately felt a shiver, his instincts told him what Pyo said. Wol said very sincerely. Or should we get rid of him now? Hong Yu-shin's eyes were filled with anger right now. Pyo Wol has a different mindset from the current martial artists sitting in high positions in the world, so he makes others even more uncomfortable. Suddenly something white just shot out from his waist of the male lead is Yu Lin. In just a blink of an eye, kissing Hong Yu-shin's delicate face revealed a trace of blood without even having time to feel the pain. Don't show off your color in front of me because I'm sensitive enough to do that. It wasn't until then that Hong Yu-shin could breathe normally, but Pyo Wol still hadn't completely recovered his soul curse. This was the invisible strain that had been severed and took away so many lives of the masters of Sichuan City. I don't care how you maintain your life in Haomon. I don't care in the future either. But just keep hanging around if you bother me like this. I will definitely take the life of your master. The former owner of the guild was an old blacksmith who suffered such a heavy blow due to the chaos that he had to sell it. Because right now the old man just wants to live the rest of his life in peace. The person who bought his guild is a young blacksmith. At this time Dang Sochu is engrossed in the final part of his work, every day. One blow of a hammer hits a piece of hot iron, its shape changes again. Beat the iron for a long time, then put it in water to cool it, then put it back in the furnace to heat it, then continue to hit each blow with the hammer. Guy the young worker kept repeating the same boring movements over and over again. What he was creating was a small throwing knife. Looks like you're busy today, right? Pyo Wol's voice rang out. Under the bright sunlight a man appeared with white skin, a beautiful face. It was unclear whether he was male or female. His charisma was strangely attractive. Although Dang Sochu he's seen this face several times, but he still feels unfamiliar. Seeing his life-saving benefactor, Dang Sochu, shows a lot of admiration and affection. I don't want to bother you because I see you're too absorbed in your work. Having finished speaking, he looked at the weapons the other party had just made and thought they looked pretty good. Wiping the sweat from his forehead, Dang Sochu also showed off. Recently, I've been making quite a bit of money because many people have entrusted me. Thank you. If it weren't for you, how would I be able to maintain this forge? Then this person also asked the male lead why he came here. Is the Yulin tribe broken? Pyo Wol shook his head. It's not really like that because Dang Sochu's clothes are very good. What the male lead needs right now is armor to protect his slim arms. Dang Sochu expressed it's hard to understand because there's no one in Sichuan who can fight this person, so why do we need to do it? It's good to be careful. In the end, he understood that Pyo Wol also needed preparation. If that's the case, I'll make something that's both light and sturdy for you. Then this person made an appointment. It took 5 days to come back to get this item. There's nothing left to say. Dang Sochu continues his work while the male lead tries to wander around the streets to see if there are any delicious flowers to pick. No. Just like that, the last person from the destroyed Tang sect finished his work at midnight. He returned to his shabby house to rest after a tiring day. Even though he's quite busy, the work that Pyo Wol entrusts to him is always a priority. He needs to find protective armor. Why have I never seen him wearing protective gear when fighting? Maybe a big battle is about to happen. Dang Sochu understood that if this person needed it that much, Sichuan would soon be in chaos again. In the pile of old things, he continued to rummage to find the most satisfactory thing. Saved a pair of gloves for Pyo Wol. Finally found the right metal according to the requirements set by the male lead. Suddenly in the darkness someone was hiding and making noise lightly caught Dang Sochu's attention. It's so strange that there's nothing valuable in this place. Could it be that it's a thief? Not showing any fear, Dang Sochu held up the lamp and lifted the curtain to see who would tell Pyo Wol right away. Not a thief or anyone else but a skinny and sick child. It was as if he had been starved for dozens of days. Dang Sochu's eyes widened in surprise and exclaimed, could it be that he left his son with the prostitutes at the back of the brothel? The child cowered in fear. It's also unclear how Dang Sochu handled that when it was morning again. In the early hours of that morning, he prepared some snacks to invite to that visiting guest. Although it's not clear what his background is, perhaps the boy needed to eat and drink to regain his composure because since the evening he just acted panicked and worried. I'll leave the food here. If you're hungry, just eat it all. I don't know why the baby is still quiet and covered with a blanket. I don't care. Who are you and how did you get there? But don't be hungry, eat quickly. I have to go today so I'll come back tonight and then bring you delicious food. After speaking, Dang Sochu pulled the door closed gently and he started to go to the smithy to work. Feeling safe, the boy took off the torn blanket and paid attention to the scent of food. His face turned pale. Like a banana leaf, something terrible must have happened to always make this expression. In fact, Dang Sochu was in a hurry to leave because the appointment to return the item he made for Pyo Wol had arrived. The two met at a not-so-famous restaurant in the capital. From early morning the male lead was very impatient and he made several pots of tea to wait for. Dang Sochu finished making what he needed and showed him the bag. Right after opening it, there was a pair of gloves that looked very strange and quite suitable for Pyo Wol. Because they were wrought iron. So when moving, it will be very comfortable, not at all cumbersome. If you put more internal energy into it, you can easily block attacks caused by some weapons. After fitting each finger, Pyo Wol praised Dang Sochu what a talent. Of course I put so much effort into it, but he laughed even harder. It seemed like there was still something left, so this person immediately retracted his expression. In the battle a few months ago, Yulin's job was severely damaged, so Dang Sochu was very psychological. After rummaging for a while, he showed Pyo Wol the silver threads. I used the leftover materials after forging armor to make it. This thing has good elasticity and will definitely be useful for you. This thing is really so satisfying that Pyo Wol promises that he will killing people in the most artistic way to honor the blacksmith who made it. With nothing else to do, Dang Sochu had to ask permission to leave, making Pyo Wol curious. We still have a guest at home. We have to see if that person is still there or not. The male lead is quite a cautious person, so he also pays attention to these small details but doesn't say it out loud. Right now, the senior brothers Oh Kyung Wol's family has also arrived in the capital. On that crowded street, they were busy looking for something that looked quite important. Still haven't found the woman with the cold face. I'm sure I've entered the capital but I can't trace my whereabouts. Or it would be easier to entrust Sha Woman to go. I said we need to keep it a secret. What's more, that group of people are cunning and not trustworthy at all. Dang Sochu couldn't help but curiously look around when suddenly a voice rang out next to him. The people talking included a woman with seductively curved eye corners and a swordsman carrying a sword like large skewers on his belt. They were so engrossed in talking that they didn't notice Dang Sochu standing nearby. At the tea shop where Pyo Wol sat right now, he is fighting with that deformed hunchback guy. It took a long time for the people to see these fights, so everyone gathered to watch. Oh Kyung Wol was vicious, staring at Pyo Wol with fierce eyes. But it was clear that he was trying to suppress his anger because of the humiliation of a few days ago. The sound of grinding teeth rang out and the voice obscenely calling the male lead a bastard. Pyo Wol is still cold because he is too familiar with those vulgar words. Do you know who I am? Oh Kyung Wol screamed. For this guy, it's his first time coming to the capital and he's already encountered death. It's not important who you are, so why do I have to know who you are? Feeling ridiculed because his reputation is more or less a bit famous in the streets. It's not strange because Pyo Wol doesn't go far from here and it's obvious that he doesn't know. Oh Kyung Wol roars up and then tossing the surrounding things in front of him. He did so as if he wanted to show off his strength before fighting. The hunched back combined with the strange weapon made the viewers wonder. Depressed. Even though he said that with a disabled appearance, he was not slow at all. The whole big person firmly grasped the weapon and rushed straight towards Pyo Wol. The male lead was still indifferent in using the new ropes that Dang Sochu had forged for him. It was also convenient that he wanted to check whether the surface and toughness were as advertised by the blacksmith. Suddenly the strange voice along with the strong scent stimulated Pyo Wol's sense of smell. Both followed their natural instincts and no longer emitted any aura. Oh Kyung Wol realized that the voice was too familiar, so he also immediately turned around. It turned out that 2 members of the Seven Stars sect, Yo Seo Liang and the Hall Master, were also present. Seeing Superior Oh Kyung Wol scream that he had to cut off the head of that half-male, half-female guy. "Look ahead," the hall owner warned in a dangerous voice. It seems like only these 2 people noticed, but that guy still doesn't understand anything. Just take a step further. Half a step and your body will be split into 100 pieces. Knowing that his trick has been exposed, the male lead takes everything back and shows a regretful look. "I don't know what happened between you two, but this young man is too strong. If you touch my sworn brothers, it will be considered that you have touched the Seven Stars sect. Give a satisfactory reason and I will forgive you. For my life today, the matter of right or wrong in the Wanderer cannot be resolved with a few words. The strong win, the weak lose, and that street owner is threatening the death of this Sichuan city." Suddenly Yo Seo Liang loudly stopped him. "Please stop. When he came in, didn't he see anything? It was obvious that he had caused trouble first, so this happened. He must have acted arbitrarily. What makes people angry?" Oh Kyung Wol was blamed by Yo Seo Liang, so Oh Kyung Wol didn't dare say another word. The appearance of the deformed hunchbacked guy right now looks so pitiful. 7 stars. It's been a few days since the road to the capital, and there's still enough time left for her to learn about Pyo Wol. Outside Sichuan City, Pyo Wol is almost an unknown person, but he's very famous inside the capital. "Hey." After receiving a polite greeting from the other side, the male lead also gently said the words Pyo Wol as his name. "What a beautiful name. We will make up for the incident that day. Today, let's both tolerate each other a little. I feel it's a bit reasonable, so I'm sure the male lead won't kill these guys." He coldly turned around and left, leaving the 3 members in his heart. Each member of the Seven Star sect has a question mark. Most of the other 2 men seem uncomfortable because there is no man who can refuse Yo Seo Liang's beauty. I don't know what happened. What's going on, but the atmosphere in the capital is becoming very gloomy right now. Until we know the situation, we shouldn't cause any trouble. Let's focus on the main mission. Replay was transferred to Dang Sochu's poor house. Now the boy was no longer afraid and enjoyed the food he brought home. It's not clear what's going on, but his status seems to be quite unusual. Usually at all. That night at Tui Tien Lao, Shah Oman's disguised workplace. Pyo Wol came all the way to this place to find Han Yu Shin with many things that needed to be explained. "House, please tell me about the Seven Stars sect." The look on the team leader's face looked depressed, a far cry from the first time the 2 of them met. "Is that open place a place of killing or what? Why do you want to learn about that place? But why 7 Star Road?" The male lead doesn't need to explain why, and if he wants, he can kill this person immediately. "If that's the case, then I won't be able to tell you everything. It's useless because Ha Oman is not a place where you can do whatever you want, but this is the procedure." So Hong Yu Shin started soliciting the male lead to make a small contract. "If you can answer my questions, it will also help you investigate everything about the 7 Star Palace." Pyo Wol is a very simple person and doesn't have any secrets, so he doesn't care. "How much do you think?" If the other person wants to know, it's simple, just ask. "I didn't expect you to respond so quickly. I want to ask about your ultimate goal after learning that's great martial arts." "I've never lived with any noble purpose," Pyo Wol replied. "It's nothing. Why don't you even want to be known as the undefeated person in Sichuan?" "I just study martial arts as just to survive. I have lived very hard to take revenge, and now all my revenge has been paid, so I don't have anything to worry about, except reading books because it's fun." There's also something interesting about that. Hong Yu Shin sighed again, looking like he was disappointed, but inside he was secretly relieved because he had never met someone like Pyo Wol. But holding great ambition, what will this world become? This existence called Pyo Wol can make the impossible come true. Hong Yu Shin immediately asked, "What are you doing now?" Curious about 7 Star Street. Pyo Wol had a slight collision since morning, so he really wanted to know what their purpose was here. "Okay, we will find out why they were quiet to come to this place. For now, I will stay here. If you know anything, please contact me immediately." Hong Yu Shin nodded, knowing clearly that a martial artist's premonition when reaching a high level is always terrifyingly accurate. In just that short period of time, Pyo Wol was able to grasp his personality as well as find a way to take advantage of him. Not only that, but he was also captivated by the prostitutes in Tui Tien Lao. Right away. Even at this time, the prostitutes were lining up to go to the temple where the male lead was resting. So he didn't spend any money and still got information from Hong Yu Shin and also enjoyed some time. Beautiful times at Tui Tien for a long time. Special treat brought by the merchant this morning that is not only fresh but also tastes great. A sharp sound came from Thao Hong's eyes, bounced upside down and fell down. Pyo Wol frowned slightly, then carefully held the woman's soft body. Obviously the apple was delicious, but it seemed like there was poison mixed inside. The sound of an old man's voice sounding in this place seems so natural, doesn't it? Why can people like you live in a place like this? It's still better to live in the mountains with safe weeds to get through the day. It's also true that sometimes such a life for someone is extremely boring in the eyes of others. But do you know who I am? The old man asked again. Pyo Wol curtly criticized, but the other person seemed confused as to why he was calm and not afraid. If I felt that you had bad intentions, I would have acted first. Indeed, an arrogant child. Now I can understand why Ching Cheng became like that. After listening, Pyo Wol realized that this person was definitely from the Ton Ton sect. The old man's last name was Go Yeob, Master Ching Cheng's uncle. Looks like you didn't come here to take revenge. What's wrong? Go Yeob is the spiritual support of the Ton Ton sect. Yet facing such a person, Pyo Wol is not afraid at all. Do you know that you have turned Ton Ton into a battlefield? The male lead doesn't think it's all because of him, but the other side thinks he's denying what happened a few months ago. I don't deny what I did, but the sect's purity is lost. Fame and becoming a monk are self-inflicted by the sect. It's not my fault that Ching Cheng practiced magic. The real Go Yeob sighed and suddenly showed a sad face. Suppose the real Ching Cheng was defeated in the hands of Pyo Wol in a dignified manner. In fact, they still have the status to be able to challenge Pyo Wol again. I originally came here to kill you and restore the honor of the sect. I was thinking of taking action. Yours is unforgivable, but I can't feel the evil breath emanating from you. There's no reason for him to fight, and in fact he has no intention of fighting. Go Yeob's feat. The moment of confusion in the heart is called non-liking, just thinking like hearing, only the mind. It's an old proverb that says don't just listen with your hands but feel. In the end, everything that happens is caused by Ton Ton sect cannot maintain the pure heart inherent in a Taoist sect. He didn't listen with his heart but only took in his ears nonsense words that were completely different from the truth. The real Go Yeob blamed himself for only listening to complaints from pure martial artists. Please forgive this old man for being so narrow-minded as to want to put all the responsibility on you. It turns out that this situation is all God's will. But I'm also human, so I can't blame you, so please promise me one thing. After Ton Ton and Ma, the two major forces in Sichuan, collapse, there will be many other forces. Others intervene to take its place. If evil forces are allowed to take hold, not only Sichuan but the whole world will be in chaos. So I hope you will stand up to stop those things. The male lead understands this, but he himself is not sure whether he can do it or not, so he refuses. As I said before, I don't have the thought of denying what I've done because I don't have that qualification. I really hope that you have a compassionate mind and not an evil mind. True man. Go Yeob finished speaking and stood up from his seat. He suddenly disappeared as usual. He suddenly appeared. Pyo Wol kept staring at the place where a noble man once appeared in front of him. I don't have any thoughts, but I think I have compassion and understanding. Since we met, Dang Sochu has been waiting for the child to open up, but he can't wait any longer because it's time to talk. Clear to the boy. After asking briefly, he told me directly that his name was Nam Shin Wu. Nam Shin Wu? ? Your name is really cool. Where do you come from? I'm from Hefei or in Wei City, so how could I get from there to here? The distance is more than 1,000 miles. Dang Sochu started to frown because how could such a small girl be able to get here? This far? Shin Wu ate in a hurry because he didn't even know the reason. Or were you being chased by someone? Where did you escape from? This child tried to remember, but it was as if there was a fog in his head and he couldn't see anything clearly. It's unclear when on the roof there were countless dark shadows following this story closely. Nam Shin Wu suddenly said a few words to the group of people wearing black clothes. Right after those words, the crowd above rushed down. A bloody shot shot out from Nam's body. Shin Woo. This guy is the blood-smashing, wind-smashing sword Jo Sam Cheok of 7 Stars Hall. Dang Sochu had to make a frightened face because of the cruelty of that guy who dared to attack even a child. Looking at that scene, Nam Shin Woo's eyes kept shaking. His knife grazed Nam Shin Woo's shoulder. The feeling of the knife tearing flesh and cutting bones was transmitted to his hand, extremely real. This fatal wound came even the reincarnated flower could not save that life. Having said that they must be captured alive, Jo Sam Cheok raised his hand and scratched his head. The mandate they gave was to capture the target alive at all costs. Price, but he accidentally killed the target. Of course he wouldn't be able to receive the exact price agreed upon. But bringing the body back and getting half the price would be fine. Jo Sam Cheok frowned and looked back. At that moment, an extremely unbelievable scene appeared before his eyes. Nam Shin Woo thought he was dead, but he stood up still breathing in an extremely strange way. Jo Sam Cheok was still alive. Already knew what his status was, but now he was also very surprised. The blood pouring out from the wound deep in his chest had stopped flowing since the pupils in his eyes had disappeared. The way the boy stood standing up and staggering is really not normal at all. No matter how advanced your martial arts skills are, you can't move while seriously injured like that. Even though Nam Shin Woo was this is a bit of a mess, but he's still walking on his own feet. Jo Sam Cheok opened his eyes in surprise as his eyes lit up with a bright sound. Although I don't know why you were still alive after that, but that's good. He thinks things are not bad going this way. Even though Nam Shin Woo is in a strange situation, surely if 7 Stars catches them now, they will definitely be returned. At the right price, Jo Sam Cheok reached out his big hand and fiercely grabbed Nam Shin Woo's hair. At first, the boy felt like someone was controlling him and unconsciously grabbed the other's strong arm. The previous information was that the subject had no martial arts skills, but now it went too far beyond expectations. Its eyes had completely lost their original look, but what was more surprising now was the wound above. His shoulder was completely healed. Shin Woo then used his force to lift the assassin's entire body into the air. Next, with a bang, the body was slammed hard onto the cold tile floor, causing everything to break. Tan. This also proves why 7 Star Streets surrounded the streets just to hunt down a child over 10 years old. Dang Sochu really couldn't believe his eyes. My eyes widened in surprise as I looked at the guy who dared to break into my house and was vomiting blood. Such a thing absolutely could not happen to a normal person. Even if he could practice magic. No matter what, it's not possible to recover from injuries in the blink of an eye like that. At this point, Jo Sam Cheok realized that the commission they received was not normal at all. I've always wondered. Why did they pay us such a high price? It turns out there is a reason. He began to frown, wondering where the wounds he cut had disappeared now. Really? It's really unusual. No wonder the reward is so high. There's definitely a reason behind it. Jo Sam Cheok is an expert in traditional martial arts. The wind blade he can practice is capable of the ability to turn even fairly qualified experts into thin slices of meat. So he has no reason to be afraid of someone who can practice strange techniques. Let me see if you still have it. Can you survive after having all 4 limbs severed? At that moment, someone suddenly jumped behind Jo Sam Cheok and hugged him tightly. Dang Sochu tightened his grip on the other guy and shouted loudly to remind Shin Woo to hurry. Quickly run away. Even though he had lost his reason, the boy still reacted to the voice of this new stranger. That lifeless look also disappeared and gradually regained his consciousness. Jo Sam Cheok struggled to try to escape from Dang Sochu, who was holding him tightly, but he was clinging like a leech. Honestly, it's too urgent, but Shin Woo is still stuck in a corner speechless. Why are you still standing there? Why don't you go quickly? Jo Sam Cheok finally gritted his teeth and made a face fish. He gathered all the strength in his body and quickly pushed the guy clinging to him away. However, in that moment, the boy with that special body had long since disappeared. Dang Sochu was kicked into the wall of the industrial park, making a sound as if the drum was exploding. It took half an hour for him to move because the force of the impact at that time was too strong. The problem here is that boy Shin Woo makes this person strangely worried. The scene changes to Tui Tien Lao where Pyo Wol is having fun with Thao Hong when the team leader announces that 7 Stars is looking for a child. He stared at Hong Yu Shin as if he wanted him to explain in detail. More. They are exploring everywhere to find a teenager around 15 to 16 years old. As for the more specific reason, he still doesn't know even though he has mobilized most of the army's forces. Go down to the gate to see what's the mystery behind it. Suddenly, there are strange movements outside, as if trying to break into the study room where the two of them are talking. The main problem is inside. Hearing the voice, I was a little vaguely aware of who this person was. A servant quickly ran to announce that a man had come here to look for Lord Pyo Wol. Surely you had realized his subordinates were outside. Pyo Wol pushed the door and Dang Sochu's painful face caught his eyes. He was being controlled by the martial artists of Tui Tien Lao and was not allowed to enter. It's not allowed to do anything. Dang Sochu saw Pyo Wol and shouted loudly, causing the others to let go. Although the main character didn't know what was going on, he quickly asked what was going on. Get rid of the siege. Of those martial artists, Dang Sochu ran over and knelt down. This person's eyes seemed to beg for Pyo Wol's help urgently. Dang Sochu grabbed the hem of the male lead's shirt and looked straight into his eyes. Will you help me? I looked into those eyes that seemed to be filled with tears and nodded if that's what we can do. There was a child who ran to hide in my factory. Dang Sochu briefly explains the story of Nam Shin Wu. There was a martial artist with a tall body who used a sword to destroy my guild and take the child away. The consciousness of he gradually became faint but still tried to stay awake. There was a very strange thing. It was clear that the sword of the 7 Stars had cut deeply into that child's shoulder. The wound was so deep that it was visible. Honestly, I thought the child was dead, but miraculously he came back to life. Even though he couldn't walk, it was really strange in that scene. The reason Dang Sochu was able to survive was because of his body. His body has been trained every day by the work of iron. If a normal person had been attacked by Jo Sam Cheok like that, he would have been unable to breathe a long time ago. Hong Yu Shin repeated that sentence as if to emphasize something. Yet he was still alive after being attacked. Why is it that a fatal blow means it must be resurrected from the dead? Being injured to the point where all the bones are exposed but still being able to come back to life unharmed, does that have anything to do with the Demon King? This is what the team leader was muttering because he was also surprised. It seemed that Pyo Wol was not clear about that title, so Hong Yu Shin explained. Several decades ago before, a monster of unknown origin appeared. As soon as he appeared in the world, he immediately attracted everyone's attention. Do you know why? Because no matter how seriously injured he is, he can still come back to life. A fatal wound that takes the lives of many normal people cannot cause him to die without any disaster. No top expert can kill him. Everyone calls the Demon King the most mysterious thing in the world. No one knows anything about him. I don't know when a rumor started to spreading throughout the world that anyone who knows his secret can live forever. Countless martial artists have appeared to capture the Demon King but failed. The Demon King is also the target of your surveillance. Oman but kept escaping and appearing, making them unable to even grasp the whereabouts of the Demon King. At that moment, outside the town, a group of 7 Stars burned down everywhere to hunt for Nam Shin Wu. Wherever they go, that place becomes a sea of fire in the blink of an eye. It's miserable for innocent people who once again have to suffer the cruel tricks of martial artists in the gypsy world. Only a few months ago, the capital was revived, but now it looks no different from the old death battle. From the chaotic crowd putting out the fire, we see the evil figure of Yo Seo Liang. What a deadly and magical beauty. She kept looking but couldn't find the child. I clearly saw that little girl running towards this direction. Her clothes were neat and beautiful because she had to chase her. After arresting Nam Shin Wu, he was all dirty. His white forehead was now covered with drops of sweat. Sichuan Citadel is considered to be the place with the strictest restrictions on foreigners in the world. In fact, the martial arts in Sichuan have their own generation, so there is no room for outsiders to interfere. For this reason, the 7 Stars will be under greater pressure if they stay here for a long time. Just in time. Hey, a martial artist came running with a sword and called Yo Seo Liang. That man is Ya Eung-pyong, the fourth member of the Seven Stars Hall. I'm looking for that brat, he's already escaped from the capital. These are some guesses. From the fourth elder to his junior sister. You've done something useless. Why Yo Seo Liang has a helpless expression on her face? Why did you set fire to the capital like this? What should I do if the sects here come? They don't go anywhere because of that guy Pyo Wol, but they have minimized their outside activities. I don't know if they have been abused by him or not. Every time they see it mentioned, everyone cringes. Can you believe it? It sounds a bit exaggerated. Because of one martial artist, all the martial artists in the city have to be wary? I can't believe it. Maybe I haven't seen the coffin yet, so I still believe that I'm capable of handling the male lead. What will you do next if you encounter that person? Yo Seo Liang started to joke. At that time, I will immediately take his head with this bloody sword. I will make him not have time to react and have to surrender his life to me. Essay on the destructive power of Ya Eung-pyong's martial arts skills are considered the third-ranked person in the seven-star hall. Yo Seo Liang burst out laughing. Her appearance now dyed by the red firelight became even more enchanting. Mixed with that beauty is the pain of loss of life and property of countless innocent people who are crying in vain. Ya Eung-pyong looked at Yo Seo Liang's body and couldn't help but feel a surge of ambition. Yo Seo Liang was suddenly understood his eyes. Not only Ya Eung-pyong but all the martial artists of the Seven Stars Hall looked at her with eyes full of desire. For normal women, this kind of thing would be extremely disgusting, but Yo Seo Liang was very interested in their eyes. The two walked away without knowing that death was coming. One step after another, graceful like a beautiful butterfly. But Yo Seo Liang suddenly frowned because something was very strange. Ya Eung-pyong still didn't respond. Yo Seo Liang turned back angrily. This beauty who likes to play with fire suddenly widened her eyes. Forgot all the words he wanted to say. Under the remains of dozens of burning houses, Ya Eung-pyong struggled frantically in the air. A chill immediately ran down Yo Seo Liang's spine, an extremely negative thread. The piece that was hard to see with the naked eye was tightly squeezing Ya Eung-pyong's neck. The eyes were wide open and bloodshot. The tongue protruding from the lips had gradually turned blue. It was enough to understand who the culprit was. The sound Yo Seo Liang's pitiful scream echoed throughout the slums, which were frantically engulfed in hellfire. The fourth man, one of the masters of the Seven Stars Hall, died instantly without knowing who the culprit was. In the distance, there was a vast fire that seemed to engulf the entire sky in acrid smoke that turned the entire city upside down. The streets were full of poor people fleeing the fire, and screams rang out incessantly. They groaned in helplessness because their only asset was a house that sheltered them from the rain and sun. It was only because of Yo Seo Liang's horrible act that the situation became so tragic. If you don't lose your house, you lose your loved ones. This is exactly what the people of the city are suffering. Lee Soha frowned, her voice choked up, wondering how this could happen. She also looked over. Yu Shin-peng, the monk with sad eyes, what happened? I don't know, but something unusual must have happened. Chengdu just had an unfortunate incident a while ago. Not long ago, but now there's a fire, which is really unlucky. Right when he was complaining, a martial artist caught Yu Shin-peng's eyes. He must have known, so the invisible monk recognized him. That person is back-deep swordsman Gam Il-hei. A swordsman who radiates a sharp aura from his thin body. He also belongs to the Seven Stars Hall. It's unclear where this person will go, but it makes him angry, causing both of them to become curious. They slowly, without making a sound, followed Gam Il-hei. Not only Lee Soha, but Yu Shin-peng was equally curious as her. I don't know what it is, but it seems quite important, otherwise the great knight's eyes would not radiate so much color. Hearing this comment, the shadow monk understood that his niece had also sensed the color. From the other side, the matter is so clear, how could you not feel it? He was quite satisfied with his niece's sharp eyesight. To survive in this world, the ability to read your opponent's thoughts and eyes is necessary. In this case, if it were an exam, Lee Soha would probably get a score. Tallest. The two tried to follow the people from the Seven-Star Hall, but for a while they couldn't find them. They couldn't be seen, but there were a few bloodstains around here that must have been there. A fight broke out. Starting in a nearby dark corner, Gam Il-hei's body was revealed. The wound was very deep coming from the throat and was obviously cut with some very strong force, causing the blood to flow continuously and the body to die. So once again the capital has returned to what people living here do not want the most, which is death. In addition to deception, his senses, the monk did not believe that Gam Il-hei had been helplessly attacked. Judging by his body condition, he clearly lost his life without knowing how he died. This is really strange that an expert like Gam Dai-hyu was killed in an instant. I didn't expect that there was such a terrifying assassin like this in this world. His level, the invisible monk, and this person are similar, so if they were killed in this way, both of them would have guessed who the murderer was. Hearing her uncle's words, Lee Soha understood. Is the person who turned the capital upside down a few months ago. You mean that guy alone faced all the sects of Sichuan? At first I just thought it was a rumor, it was widely exaggerated, but after witnessing this, it was impossible not to believe it. In fact, most rumors that were spread by word of mouth were often exaggerated, so he thought about it again. This is the same, but in reality it is exactly what people tell each other. Time passed like that until the horrifying scene of last night was no more. Everything returned to its original peace and the surrounding people were trying to overcome the consequences they had just experienced. In a neighboring wooded area on the edge of town, groans were heard and countless crows were on duty waiting to feast on some of the dying victims. On that cold grass, Nam Shin Wu's whispers rang out. The boy tried to run away and escape the deadly scythe of the villain who was closely following him. With his personality, Jo Sam Cheok is very interested in torturing his prey. He left this child rolling on the ground with agonizing pain. I really don't understand you. What the hell is that? This is truly a miracle that a human being can do such extraordinary things. Nam Shin Wu panted. Everywhere he crawled over to very long streaks of blood. To prove his words were more accurate, Jo Sam Cheok continued to torture him again. He pulled out a hidden weapon from his hand and repeatedly threw it at his body. Nam Shin Wu. Since he has an immortal body, no matter what he does, he cannot be harmed, but just hearing the screams makes his heart ache. After a period of torture, all the wounds on the body healed in just a blink of an eye. No matter how strong their martial arts skills were, if they shed blood to this extent, they wouldn't be able to survive or anything like that. Wants to capture you so much. Nam Shin Wu looked scared as if he knew what his fate would be if he fell into the hands of those people. The boy started screaming and thought that the other person, I was wrong and please spare my life. Jo Sam Cheok's handsome face showed a very cold look. Gypsy is a place where there is no distinction between right and wrong. What is the difference between killing and killing? Although I don't know how you possess such a physical body, my master will tear you into pieces and study it anyway. From your veins to your bones. We will dig deep into your bones and bones until you find it. Even if you are immortal, I think you will not be able to live. The dream of immortality is the dream of countless people and certainly yours. Will die because of that dream. It's good to satisfy my curiosity, but if I let this child die, it's obvious that Jo Sam Cheok will be in big trouble. This guy is like, I want to do it a few more times, but I probably won't be able to do it. Because right now, a junior brother from the 7 Stars Path came running with an extremely scared look on his face. He is a young member. The youngest and also the weakest person, so he was making a scared face, making Jo Sam Cheok look very confused. According to what his junior brother said, the old man was no longer alive and died since last night. Obviously, Gam Il-hei did not know how he died and the culprit was definitely Pyo Wol. According to the 7th brother's story, the shadowless monk Yu Shin Peng discovered his body. Old Luke. Surely the 7 stars will put aside the matter of bringing people back to the designated place and take revenge for that revenge in person. The scene is transferred again to the streets of the capital where there are no longer any crowds. Crowded and bustling too. Before what Yo Seo Liang had done, Oh Kyung Wola was wandering around trying to find some change to drink. It's also unclear why this guy was cut off from his brothers inside. That Tin Duong. And he didn't care much about that because he still had a huge grudge against the male lead from before. Felt very humiliated after not being able to fight Pyo Wol. This guy secretly said in his heart that if he ever met again, he would definitely let him know what politeness is. From the roof, Yo Seo Liang's agile steps seemed to be in a hurry. All the members of that star hall are obsessed with her beauty, so they all really want to do a good deed to please this person. As soon as that figure passed by, Oh Kyung Wola also had to turn his head to look up. Where were he going in such a hurry? He even climbed onto the roof to avoid other people's eyes. Even though he didn't know what was going on, he also recognized that the other person was the monk. My beautiful sister. What happened in the end? I definitely had to follow her. Then suddenly a short sword pierced one of his shoulders. Because it was too bad. Engrossed in thinking about his junior sister's image, this guy no longer had time to be alert. The white silver fibers were now also wrapped around the neck of that congenitally deformed guy. Following a very strong pull, the sound of panting rang out without being able to say anything. Oh Kyung Wol tried to reach for his weapon even though his throat was being choked. The iron ball connected to the flying chain in the direction the string is stretched. It seemed like they knew where the enemy was, so a loud explosion rang out. Although it didn't hit, it still partly revealed the silhouette of the male protagonist. Said he wasn't. It's too much for petty people to pay attention like what this deformed guy did. Oh Kyung Wol widened his eyes when he saw the person he hated appeared again. It's good that Pyo Wol is now. He wore body armor to protect his hands, forged by Dang Sochu himself. Those red eyes were like a snake looking at its prey and without any emotion, making the deformed man unconscious. A little scared. He gritted his teeth and roared as if he wanted to put a lot of hatred on Pyo Wol's head. Before dying and lying in his mouth, the prey often struggled. This is exactly what men do. It's the most satisfactory. After that, it's not clear how everything became stable. The crows are a real opportunity because now they are enjoying the free buffet. This time the menu will include Oh Kyung Wol's entire deformed body. This short guy had to die on the cold streets of the capital without even having time to confess his love to his sister Yo. Later, Lee Soha and her uncle found his body. They were very surprised at why one after another the people of 7-Star Hall died here. After seeing the niece pointing at the corpse of the person with this deformity, the monk was able to find out a little information. He began to string the events together and understood many things. Yu Shin Peng thought that the culprit killed both brothers of 7 Stars Hall are the same person. Obviously, from Lao Ngu to Lao Luke, that guy is targeting 7 Stars Hall. They never have any grudges. With whom? Could it be Bok Ghost Lotus? Bok Ghost Lotus has never performed any actions in Sichuan, so it's highly likely that the assassin's goal is to cause chaos here. I'm not sure if he has a grudge against them or not, but the killing method is extremely advanced, definitely not an ordinary assassin. Lee Soha is feeling that the appearance of the male lead is truly an ugly person, no different from a demon. In the end, that monster who killed people for whatever reason was so cruel, he was truly an ugly and brutal monster. Yu Shin Peng argued that people speculated about his appearance. That's very young and handsome. Lee Soha shouted that it couldn't be like that because no one would do those actions when handsome people boast about it. The invisible monk sighed again at the thought. My niece's children then reminded me to move on because this assassin probably won't stop anymore. I've lived a virtuous life all my life, so how can I just stand by and turn a blind eye to massacres? Is it okay to be this cruel? Moreover, 7-Star Street has some people who are a bit extremist, but they are also part of the righteous path, so they can't pretend not to know. After hearing those words, Lee Soha had to agree because honestly, she didn't want to get involved in this matter at all. Just like that, they both had the same question, not knowing how far this storm would spread. At the same time, the members of the 7-Star Hall are trying to gather together. Although they have never fought or faced each other, they have heard a lot about Pyo Wol's strength. The hall master looked very angry and reminded everyone, be careful, that guy doesn't know when he'll strike. He kept blaming himself that he should have immediately killed that assassin when he met him in the capital. Thoughts. I don't know if this is true or not, because what if things turn out to be the opposite? I wanted to hide Ton Ton and Na Mi's eyes, but I didn't expect that because of that the brothers would have to die by mistake. What if things continue to happen, the situation will not be okay at all? While on the way to carry the baby, Jo Sam Cheok loudly asked everyone why that guy targeted the 7-Star Street. Is it because of the previous battle? If it was because of that, things wouldn't have lasted to this extent. After saying that, he started muttering to himself and realized that maybe it was related to this immortal boy. From behind, the junior brother's eyes became worried and asked the senior brother to be calmer. It's not too late for a gentleman to take revenge for 10 years. Just accept it if they get the reward. Killing that Pyo Wol is just a matter of sooner or later. They think that if they had to do the main thing first and bring back the goods as agreed, then everything will be fine. I say that today's humiliation will definitely be reclaimed in the future. Just like that, the 7-star group only has a few people left and they all return to the rendezvous point to deliver people. Yo Seo Liang bit her red lips and thought it was true that all men are stupid. If she had known that underneath the male lead's perfect appearance was terrible cruelty, she would probably have been careful since the first time they met. However, losing such a lovely flower like So Yo Seo Liang felt quite regretful because she couldn't eat it all. Perhaps this person thought that if he was a man, he would be beautiful. Maybe mine will work. The people of 7 Stars Hall seem to be lost in this forest and maybe they just walked into a trap. The hall master saw the road ahead. Before it was too dark, he also seemed confused and thought something was strange. His face began to show fear because the forest right now was becoming dark in an extremely confusing way. Then the whole group had to stop because there was a groan from the junior brother behind them. The second old man was starting to feel pain and understood that whatever was going to happen had to happen. The other members still didn't understand what was going on and just remained stuck in one place. It wasn't until their brother told them to run away that they all realized what was happening. The second man's ankle began to pull strongly backwards with some force. The guy was incompetent. The remaining brothers couldn't do anything about asking for help. The hall master knew that this loss was too great, but because of the immediate benefit, he urged the survivors to leave immediately. Jo Sam Cheok is the person with the deepest feelings, so he is confused and doesn't know whether to go to the rescue or run away. Obviously, this stupid action will cost him his own life. Only him. From within the darkness and the deep night, fear began to surround this guy. Pools of blood were shot from inside the body and a woman of 7-star palace died. Only the owner and Gao Yo Seo Liang are left, so both are very nervous even though they don't know where to run. On one side, Jo Sam Cheok is dead and on the other side, Lao Nhi was moaning for help. He started screaming to stop moving forward because it was very dangerous. After that, he couldn't hear any more words, which was really unlucky for the stars. Because they touched the god of Sichuan City. It's really embarrassing and they can't do anything because it really only happened in a few blinks of an eye. Never encountering a strange incident like this, the hall owner reminded his junior sister to quickly run to the top of the mountain to observe more easily. However, his eyes continuously turned back and forth and recognized a terrible thing. Her mouth began to mutter why there were only 2 people left and where had everyone else gone. Yo Seo Liang bit her mouth tightly, thinking it was because she was too hasty just now. I chased after my second brother so no one noticed. It's unbelievable how this can happen. Isn't it enough that the brothers keep losing one after another and not even the younger brother is left? In the grove, the other tree let out a painful groan again, making both of them even more frightened. They began to follow the sound in the dark and look in that direction. No one was looking. I could see everything clearly and could only hear the old man's pleading voice. It was also unclear when the silver silk had wrapped itself around my entire body like a spider web. Pyo Wol has not yet appeared and perhaps he wanted to let them feel fear to the death. Sharp invisible wires began to cut straight into the body of that unfortunate guy. In a very quick moment, hundreds of broken images of that body fell to the ground. All of this was seen by the 4 eyes of the 7-star group members without missing a single detail. Gao Yo Seo Liang screamed in fear because he saw the old man's head rolling on the ground. Right now the death god of Sichuan City has also begun to appear. They are martial artists. I can also feel a martial artist with a pale face and red eyes approaching. There is no longer a handsome appearance that attracts all eyes in Gao Yo Seo Liang's eyes anymore. Her whole body was now trembling with fear and appeared very panicked. Seeing that the enemy who had murdered her brothers had appeared, the hall master's face had become very angry. He roared and really wanted to pour out all the pain and loss on Pyo Wol's head. The aura radiated in a very terrible way and rushed straight towards the male lead. In the endless night, bro. Still indifferently waiting for his prey. The light emitted from his energy also showed his deadly, magical beauty. After reaching a certain distance, the main street leader began to stop. He swung his fist again. Perhaps right now his mind was no longer alert and he only wanted to kill this person. Energy contained the strength of the entire body. Hit him in the chest. Although they specialized in using punches, those fists were not simple at all. If they even touched him, it would cause Pyo Wol's face to break into pieces. Let's see. After punching a few times without getting a single hit, his whole face grimaced. The hall master unconsciously swung his fist into the night without knowing where the real enemy was. He continued to attack without even remembering that he revealed many fatal loopholes. What the hell is going on here? Why can't I do as I thought? Even though I've been trying to attack his weak points all this time, this guy always suddenly manages to dodge it. These are very accurate comments because he is facing start with Pyo Wol's walking snake technique. I feel like I'm just touching his afterimage. The more I fight, the more the main hall's gasps ring out as if proving his helplessness. Finally, to break leaving aside the unsatisfactory situation, the leader continued to put all his strength into his fist. I don't know if it hit or not, but from the forest, extremely deafening explosions rang out, causing everything became clearer. Still an unexpected result because from the beginning until now he couldn't hit a single move. From within that smoke and dust, the cloak that the male protagonist usually wore, even if he used it frequently, he would be blown away. With such an extremely powerful and precise punch, he could only do that. This is truly unbelievable. Even though the person is present in front of him, he still hasn't taken any action but is just waiting to see if the other side has any new tricks or not. The master of the 7 Stars Hall is no longer taking action. But he had countless opposing thoughts in his head. That guy dodged as if he predicted all the blows he would unleash. The silent atmosphere was broken by the voice of Gao Yo Seo Liang was calling his big brother. This caught Pyo Wol's attention and he immediately pulled out his flying knife to attack. Many sharp things flew in the night that woman's slender body. Even if she was a woman or a woman, if she was cruel and burned down the entire capital, the male protagonist would not be able to forgive her. Knowing the danger that was exposed displayed in front of her eyes, Gao Yo Seo Liang also exerted all her strength. She smacked her mouth once and showed a very uncomfortable face, and from there, the aura radiated to the outside. Next, his body rushed straight towards the male lead and was not afraid of any danger. While looking at the extremely seductive face of his junior sister, the hall master revealed an opening. Unknown word. When the silver silk wrapped around his neck and Yo Seo Liang shouted a warning. She quickly flew over as if she wanted to relieve her senior brother. With that slow speed, it was impossible. Faster than Pyo Wol. Now answer my question, why do you want to kidnap that child? When Yo Seo Liang heard this story, she suddenly stopped and realized that the male lead's purpose was clearly Nam Xin Wu. If I don't tell the truth, it will certainly be difficult to save the life of the hall owner today. I don't know anything else and I'm only following someone else's orders. This is such a blatant lie that even children can recognize it, so how can the male lead believe it? He tightened his grip on the white silver in his throat before handing Yo Seo Liang over. Quickly shouted to stop. Let's resolve everything through dialogue. You're making us very scared if you do that. I don't know much, so please speak slowly. Is that okay? It's true that Yo Seo Liang's words had some value, so the male lead seemed to have loosened his grip on the silver silk. As soon as he regained his breath, the main hall started. He understood that this was his only chance and that he would never get a second chance. So he put all his strength into fighting back against Pyo Wol's bondage. But suddenly, before this guy could make a move, a small groan rang out, causing him to pay attention. The person who died was not the hall master but his junior sister. The body was white. That guy immediately collapsed to the ground and he screamed in vain. It's so crazy because the 7 stars are now left with only one person left who founded that famous name. He's struggling and screaming. He promised that he would have to cut off the male lead's head to offer it to the souls of the brothers and sisters under the golden stream. It's very possible that these were the last words that the master of the 7 stars hall said. Path left in this world. With his indifference, Pyo Wol is quite calm in the face of the killer move that his opponent is aiming for. In just a moment, he used his mind speed and black lightning as one. As if they were fighting against Na Mi and Ton Ton in the past. One smaller change is that they no longer use ghosts and attacks like this, but instead use body armor. Swipe 1. The male protagonist's body merged into the darkness and then passed through the main hall's chest. He also focused all his strength on one point and just like a gust of wind. One blow. A huge hole appeared in front of his chest and it seemed like his life was no longer there. Before he died, he uttered a sentence that previous victims could not say. Pyo Wol was no different. A grim reaper. After killing him, he coldly began to look at the victim's body. All members of the 7-star path entering the capital were completely destroyed at this time. A famous group of warriors in Hunan province was massacred in just one night because of a child of unknown origin. This would be a shocking incident if people knew about this. On the contrary, Pyo Wol appeared indifferent and he leisurely carried the baby back. The male lead had nothing. I had to hurry because I had so many thoughts about this child in my head. Besides thinking that he was a demon king, I couldn't think of anything else. Just now I was in a hurry. I was about to die, but now my breathing has calmed down. Is there really such a person in the streets? This is the reason why knowing the secret of immortality is truly absurd. Once born as a human, death will be obvious. How can one go against that inevitable law? Even if we could do it, we would have to pay a very high price. Then suddenly we saw Pyo Wol's scared face for the first time. His body was facing forward because it seemed like someone was waiting for a long time. Why couldn't I feel his presence even though I was standing right next to him? The enemy I feel is so dangerous? All of the male protagonist's senses were now at full capacity and he gently placed the boy on the ground. However, there was something strange that made these senses dreamy. I can't control the lake. Everything becomes tense, even the red eyes that the male lead usually looks at his victims. There's nothing disgusting, just a fit. The wind is very gentle but it is enough to make Pyo Wol confused. This is just the viewer's eyes, but in reality the male lead's feelings are completely different. That wind is not normal at all because it's just like a dragon that's extremely flexible but its power is extremely illegal. To be more precise, it's as if the opponent is trying to make Pyo Wol scared just like the way he did to weaker people. If he had already caused trouble, I wouldn't have been able to turn a blind eye. The method of using body strength and aura is relatively similar. Perhaps this is the most terrible battle since Pyo Wol stepped into the world. The strange animations from the bodies of the male lead and the opponent are all entwined together as if I want to bite and swallow and refuse to let go. Perhaps this is the only strong man that makes the male protagonist scared and it is clear that if he does not take the initiative first, his life will be difficult to save. Show off your face and show me who you are. It seems like the other person understands very well the tactics the male protagonist uses so he doesn't flinch at all. Just for a moment. At that moment, all the strength that the male protagonist shot at was instantly shattered. It couldn't even reach a certain range where the other person was standing. This is too different. And clearly the saying that even higher mountains have higher mountains is very accurate at this time. That man's voice has begun to ring out. Why are you imitating other people's techniques like that? It's not known who caught who first, but one thing that is clear is that both are clearly the same. The only difference is that the opponent is stronger. Yourself, the male protagonist, must now understand that that guy is definitely not an ordinary expert. If he can't kill, then maybe he will be the one who dies. Pyo Wol looks more confused and he unconsciously used his strongest moves to attack his opponent. But even if he did more than that, he still wouldn't be able to touch that sturdy defense. Both of them used the same lightning magic. We don't even know where that person learned it from. After absorbing all the power that just rushed in, this person immediately gathered it together to form a huge storm. The look in his eyes now, this is too confident and looking straight at the place where Pyo Wol is standing. The scene that unfolds is like the end of the world. This is a scene that he never could have thought he would see. The surrounding air seems to have turned into hundreds of thousands of blades attacking Pyo Wol. The winds blowing towards the male protagonist at this time are actually streams of energy crystallized from within his aura. Opponent. Even in this desperate situation, he still no longer shows fear. Before that, the male protagonist ate moss and insects to survive in the face of physical danger. How can one's life be controlled by someone else? The body now no longer has a defense cluster but actively rushes forward even though it has scratches and peeling skin. It's like the mill with thousands of inverted blades was woven into Pyo Wol's shoes. To resist that pressure, he tried hard to move forward step by step to get closer. The situation was no different from Pyo Wol carrying dozens of huge tons of iron and steel on his shoulders. To be more precise, this is the will to survive that he rekindled 14 years ago, so. Can your family also withstand that blow? In just a short moment it can be destroyed and survive. Pyo Wol is a talented martial artist, as Elder Ching said in the past. As soon as he feels an abnormality, his body will feel a little uncomfortable and will soon adapt simply. The opponent thinks that he himself has activated the potential inside Pyo Wol's body. At this time the rays of the new day have begun to shine. The endless night is the power. Pyo Wol's extreme strength cannot help him anymore. Familiar opponents with most martial arts that have appeared in The Wanderer in the past 100 years, however, there is no martial art that can the body is similar to Pyo Wol's. To say they are only similar in technique, but the way of cultivating and forging and the circumstances are completely different. If we don't meet each other directly like this, it will be very difficult. You can see the male lead putting all his strength into it. The male lead roars in battle. He always prepares for death, and this time it's the same. Just with that spirit, the opponent will also had to be more careful than ever. The face of a man in his 30s was no longer joking. Instead, he was more serious and countless auras surrounded Pyo's body. Wol. As mentioned, the small thunderstorms have now turned into tornadoes that sweep everything inside the center. This amount of internal energy is too abundant. It keeps coming out and then appearing again massively, as if infinitely so. Throughout my life I have met many martial artists, some of whom have top talents in the world, but neither of them developed their talents at the same terrifying rate as other people. This man in front of him. After waiting enough for Pyo Wol to use his strength, he proactively responded. The method looks quite righteous. Perhaps this person has some intention towards that child. However, he was very curious about this name known as the Sichuan city god of death. If he hadn't met, that's it. If he had met, he would definitely have to create an earth-shattering battle to satisfy him. Wish. If this time continues, I won't get any benefits. He waved his hand and a strange animation of a giant dragon roaring in front of his eyes. Animation that photo destroyed everything that Pyo Wol had just created in a very simple way. Then the energy radiated into each finger and then stabbed hard into his own body. It's unbelievable everything he did. Doing anything has no effect right now. Following natural instinct, the male lead's eyes unconsciously opened as if to counter that killer move. A loud explosion rang out, shaking the entire place. The forest on the edge of the city. After the dust and smoke cleared a little, he no longer emitted murderous aura. In his mind, he was also wondering if that guy was dead or still alive. While thinking about this, there was a strong sound of light accompanied by a super fast speed. Suddenly that guy felt a cold feeling down his spine without knowing why. Suddenly, that pursuit beam shined strongly. It was as if he wanted to cut that person in half. It turned out that Pyo Wol still had a little bit of strength left, so he attacked him while he wasn't paying attention. Up to this point, that thing had taken my life. There are hundreds of martial artists. However, this time is probably different because the figure of that strong man has disappeared. He is floating in the air after hastily drawing his sword to defend himself. His mouth also began to mutter about how amazing and unpredictable Pyo Wol's level was. Below, the male protagonist no longer had the strength to stand up anymore. His condition was poor, but he can't erase those eyes full of the will to survive. Unexpectedly, you can survive my attack and can even counterattack. This is my first time encountering an opponent. If we let him develop like this, I don't know what will happen in the future. Perhaps now is the best opportunity to kill him. There was no hidden fear in those eyes. I'm afraid of people like this. I'll bite and tear my enemy at all costs. If I really want to kill him, I'll probably get hurt myself. I'm old now. I am already very tall and need to try to maintain my health for the rest of this life." After smacking his lips, he immediately turned his eyes to that immortal child. People often saying God's will is difficult, even the human mind cannot understand it. I really don't know if my decision today is right or wrong. Seeing the boy's body when being taken away, the male lead also shouted to stop him. Pyo Wol tried to rush in, but it seemed like there was some heavy invisible wall pressing down on his body. Even though he was seriously injured, the male lead still needed to ask if the other side was trying to take the kid. "Where are you going?" It seems that this person has no bad intentions, but just a few hidden meanings that he wants to protect this child. After hearing that sentence, Pyo Wol continued to ask him to explain. "Like to be more detailed?" "Sorry, but I can't say, and I have no obligation to tell you. If you say so, you won't be able to take that kid anywhere." It looked like that, but he didn't think that even if he had lost all his strength, he could be so loud. "Why do I need your permission? I don't know why this child is here because this place is not where it should be. If it continues to stay here, the whole Sichuan city will be filled with disaster. You may be able to survive because your martial arts skills are good enough, but others around you won't be so lucky, so I need to protect this child." How can the male lead hear what he said? "It's true because I don't even know the name yet. Believe it or not, it doesn't matter whether you think I'm afraid, so I'll retreat or not." Even though his talent is extraordinary, his martial arts usage is also very strange, but that cannot be applied to deal with all martial artists. Having finished speaking, the other person also began to ask about his reputation. Pyo Wol's real name. Isn't that the minimum politeness to reveal your identity first? Embracing the immortal child, he began to say the two words, "Tong Fong," curtly. Having the male lead's full name was firmly imprinted in his mind. There was nothing left to say. The strong man slowly rose into the air, leaving many questions in his heart. In the world, if you hear this name, you will immediately run away, but not Pyo Wol, you have to face it. It is also very possible that this terrible person is the demon king that people are rumored to be. Guess. That will be confirmed by Pyo Wol in the not-too-distant future. It's unbelievable that even though he was known as the god of Sichuan City, he has now lost to an unknown powerhouse. Calendar. This is a hard truth for Pyo Wol to accept. Things will probably become interesting and attractive, so everyone please follow me a lot. Thank you and don't forget to share the story.